Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Oldsmar City Council meeting of Tuesday, April 17th, 2018 to order. If you'll please rise for our invocation and our pledge that will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Our Heavenly Father, send down your blessing on this meeting of the City Council. Give the City Council members a clear sense of duty and lead them to a faithful discharge of the same. Direct them in their deliberations at this meeting so that all things may be done to the glory of thy name and the welfare of the people we serve. This we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and once again, welcome. Hope you got your taxes done. Or filed an extension like I did. So.
You got till midnight.
Yeah. Our first item on tonight's agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. We only have a couple of rules: that you keep it to no more than 5 minutes. You state your name and address clearly for the record, and you can speak towards anything on tonight's agenda. However, if you're talking on item 10, that is a public hearing. We would ask that you hold your comments and questions to that time. Is there anybody here wanting to talk on item 14, which is our Leisure Services Board item? Anybody here to speak on that? Okay. Do you want to speak now, or would you like to speak when we get to that item? I'll give you that option.
Yeah.
Now? Okay, that's fine.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Katie Gannon. My address is 330 Lafayette Boulevard. I am an alternate member of the Leisure Services Advisory Board. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the City Manager's Resolution 2018-05, reestablishing the Leisure Services Advisory Board, which is item number 14 on your agenda. Last council meeting, Mr. Mayor, you joked that Leisure Services was the less stressful of the advisory boards, but you might be surprised.
Yes, I'm gathering that.
And you know what, that's okay, because I'm happy to be on a board with people who are excited and passionate about advocating for what they believe in, but I also believe that it needs to occur within limits. I'm sure you've reviewed the city manager's memorandum in the agenda packet detailing the sort of history of the resolution, but I want to speak to a couple key points. The new resolution reduces the number of board members from 11 with 2 alternates to 9 with no alternates. To be clear, I wouldn't lose my position. So it also reduces the number of meetings from 10 per year to 4 or quarterly. Last week, the board was divided at our monthly meeting over the proposed resolution. The memo provides some context. Allow me to provide some more. Each meeting lasts between 1 and 2 hours. They require the time of our clerks, or their designee, of course, the Leisure Services Director, and usually 2 to 3 staff members as well, who often come without being paid and sort of as volunteers and to answer questions of the board members. We review updates from Leisure Services staff members, reports and projects, and the monthly activities of the department. Most often there are no action items from the council, of which I'm sure you're aware because you would hand them down. Then each board member has an opportunity to provide comments. Board comments and discussion of department reports sometimes foster positive ideas. For example, just recently someone brought up that perhaps it would be helpful to post a sort of emergency or a maintenance phone number at our parks in case there's some kind of issue, somebody spotted an issue that required immediate attention. Or there's been repeated inquiry and progress into placing recycling facilities at our parks, perhaps nearby trash cans and stuff like that. So it can be a positive thing. Unfortunately, discussion and board comments sometimes devolve into opinion, complaint, personal attack on other members, and regurgitation of what I can surmise as to be historic wrongs. Exactly a year ago, actually, at my appointment to the board, another valuable and very dedicated member of the board and a dedicated member of this community resigned following a vulgar, inappropriate complaint and ensuing discussion, which should have been directed to the sheriff's office, quite frankly. Similarly, at last month's meeting, during board comments, one board member was verbally accosted and belittled before the entire board for tardiness. As a result, we've recently undertaken to draft formal bylaws to create penalties for such conduct unbecoming of a representative of the citizens of Oldsmar and appointed by this council. My short tenure on the board, in comparison to many members, leaves me without knowledge as to the history of every prior offense or every grudge that binds some members to discussion of those past offenses, and perhaps some of that discussion is warranted, maybe, quarterly though. I do have a clear understanding of the council's purpose in establishing the board, though. The purpose is not to unnecessarily take up the time and efforts of city staff and subject them to a firing squad. It is not to bring a personal agenda of grievances that are better directed to council or city hall. It's not to advocate for a topic that a board member should probably create after creation of their own 501c3, perhaps. The purpose is most definitely not to falsely present our own ideas as the desires of the citizens we're tasked to represent. The purpose is articulately put by our city manager in section 6 of the resolution before you tonight. I'm paraphrasing. The primary of the duty will be to advise city council and the city manager as to the interpretations of the community needs and desires as to the types of leisure programs, parks, recreation, and facilities, to prepare and revise a general plan for meeting future leisure requirements, and to act as a liaison and a conduit of public opinion from the citizens to the city manager. The board exists at the pleasure of the council and as a bridge from the citizens to the council and to other city staff and officials. I believe members of the board should be professional, organized, and take their positions seriously. I believe that making meetings quarterly, as many of our other advisory boards already are, removing from the board's discretion the ability to enforce absentee and tardy policies, which the resolution also does, along with establishment of formal bylaws, can streamline and promote meaningful discussion and ensure that we meet the purpose of the board. I have no reason to think positive ideas cannot be discussed quarterly. Further, the city manager retains the authority to convene the board for any special purpose. For these reasons, it's my hope the council will approve the resolution 2018-05 as written and recommended by their city manager. It's also my desire that the council would take it out of order, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have of me. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Very well spoken. You're not an attorney or anything, are you?
I am.
I was sitting over here thinking
To call it, it
I was
is.
over here thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Been there, done that before.
Thank you. Well spoken, and you did mention a couple of things that I was going to mention, that there is the opportunity in there to have a special meeting if there's such one desired. I think Al has, and maybe I guess all the council has heard about the number of meetings and the number of action items in comparison. So there's an opportunity to do that. And just for the record, that the reduction from 9 to 11 is through attrition. We're not just going to boot people off. So just for the public's record and all that stuff.
It'll take some time.
Yes, it may. We got probably some hanger-oners probably. So anyway, well, thank you for that. We'll take that item up later on in the agenda. Anybody else like to address the council? Anybody on this side like to address the council? You didn't raise your hand, young man.
Where's the trophy?
Fire and EMS chief actually is on a call. Didn't have time to go back and grab it. But the first order of business, I did want to say that at the recent Relay for Life, first annual, first ever tug of war between fire rescue agencies. Two of the agencies were apparently too scared to show, and one did. And I'd like to say it was a competition, but we pretty much killed it. So. I don't have the trophy with me, but we have a nice trophy that we're going to hold on to for the next year. And we thank our fellow firefighters up in Tarpon Springs to come down who assisted with us. On another topic, or as I would say, let's talk about something completely different now. Over the last couple of years, we've discussed creating some T-shirts, and I know that Mr. Bueland is going to, Councilmember Bueland is going to smile now. We've over the years have always had people asking to have some of our T-shirts from the fire department.
We've always been promised them and never got them.
If they finally show up, then that's a promise kept. Help me out here, Al. I'm in trouble now. Anyway, we've had people request the T-shirts that we wear, and that's part of our uniform, and there's actually some laws that say we just can't do that. So we've gone ahead and taken it under advisement and done exactly what you asked. I can't take credit for this because the man standing next to me, Angel Hernandez, sketched this out on I want to say, was it a cocktail napkin at an airport bar or something? I'm not sure. But sketched this out, a really nice design, and then we gave it to our in-house graphic artist specialist, Chris Hannon, who did just a bang-up job with it. So we've created some t-shirts, and we have one for each member of the city council and our assistant city manager, and also we have one for Chris as well. We do have some extra ones for sale. I got you one, big fella. You're golden. You're golden. So we're going to show you one, and then we're going to pass them out as well.
How much are they? I think the council should pay double whatever you want, but how much are they?
This is on us. This is a promotional item from the fire department.
Thank you.
You can contact me, and I'll let you know for sure.
I do want to say that you put out a couple T-shirts over the past 30 years, and I have both of them, and they are incredible.
Well, on the front, it says City of Oldsmar, professional firefighters serving since, what year were we established? 1949. And it's got 5-4 in the middle, which is our fire station. And on the back, for years and years, we were always told that the unofficial mascot of the City of Oldsmar was a armadillo. So we have created a really tough-looking armadillo with an axe and a hose, and he's even got a little tattoo on him, too. And it shows engine and Rescue 54 on the back. So. Okay, so we're gonna pass these out.
He's mean looking.
My mic on?
Yeah.
It is.
Hopefully Jason didn't hear that. Carry on.
Bye here.
Carry on.
Very cool.
Nasty.
Thanks, Dean.
Very nice.
Look at you.
Excel.
Congrats, baby.
4X.
All right, got it.
If we ever need somebody jumping out of the
looks
building,
great.
you can use your shirt to catch them.
Thank you.
Personal parachute.
So, hey, I
Grab
want,
Al's shirt.
hey, I want to thank you guys because back in like 2006, something like that, the first time I ran for council, the union guys gave me a shirt the night I lost the first time. And to make matters worse that night, before we left the place, we were having the not-so-celebration party. Someone took it from my chair and never returned it. And so Kelzer promised me ever since then he was going to give me a replacement, never did. I think he just figured out you're a loser, never mind. So thank you.
Not gonna even make a comment on that, so. But we do have some other ones as well, and if you'd like to all hold them up, we can get a picture of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we picturing? Over here, Deb?
Hold him in front of Doug's face.
Yeah.
Probably like slide down a little bit to help.
I know, right? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
No, I'm good. This is all I need. And finally, Fire Ops 101, May 12th. All of the council members have participated in at least once. May 12th, Fire Ops Feel the Heat at the St. Pete College Fire Training Center again. If you want to come down and be a firefighter for a day.
Oh, see you guys.
Is that my 5-minute warning?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Open later and Domino's, and we deliver faster. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dean.
Kind of interesting you say that. Is that a statewide thing? Because I have a Hillsborough, I don't know how I got it. I have a Hillsborough County Fire Department. It would be one of the shirts that you guys wear that they gave me out, some station out in Brandon, but I've had that thing for years.
Well, actually, Cindy and Al can probably fill you in on the specifics of it, but since it's a piece of uniform shirt and emergency services are exempted from it, it's actually taxable under IRS laws.
Oh, I don't have it anymore.
We know where you live, so.
Yep, so Dan will be seeing a shirt in his mailbox tomorrow. Anybody else like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the citizens' open forum. A couple of items on the mayor's minute, a couple of recap items. We had our city council planning conference, the first under the leadership of our new city manager. Our annual planning conference was held at Brooker Creek Education Center Friday, April 6th. Thank you to our retired fire chief, Scott McGuff, for facilitating our day. I thought it was very productive and kind of set the stage for kind of a different direction. So thanks for everybody, staff included, that participated. The annual Oldsmar Cup race was this past Sunday, April 8th. Thank you to Tampa Bay Downs for hosting the annual tradition. And for those that showed up, Relay for Life of North Pinellas, as Dean mentioned, Friday, April 13th at the Oldsmar Sports Complex. Great turnout. Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, Tarpon Springs, Palm Harbor communities came together to relay. This year they raised over $50,000, plus there's more money coming in. Some upcoming events, the Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. We do this every year. It's going on now through the end of April. Take the pledge at mywaterpledge.com. BMX Racing League, this is exciting news. We had our first open house recently, and we are now starting our first league of its kind at the Oldsmar BMX complex beginning tomorrow. We expected maybe a dozen riders to sign up for this 5-week course. We have closed it off at 49 riders, so congratulations to those guys. It's really, and it's our inaugural event. I think it's 5 weeks, then we'll take a week off, then we do another open house, followed by another, still working out the details on that, so trying to help the kids, give them something to do besides sit behind their phone or their computer. So annual paper shredding and recycle day is this coming Friday, April 20th, right next to the east lot of City Hall from 8 in the morning till noon. Free electronic recycling, medication disposal, and paper shredding, limit 5 boxes per person. Our annual golf tournament is Friday, May 4th at 1 p.m. Shotgun start at Crescent Oaks Golf Club, Tarpon Springs. The entry fee is $75 per player. Whole sponsors, team, and players have until this Friday, April 20th to register. You can go to myoldsmar.com. Also, do want to say congratulations to one of our own council members. Dan Saraki was recognized by the Florida League of Cities with their 2018 Home Rule Hero Award for his efforts to advance the league's legislative agenda and help protect the home rule powers of our cities during this legislative session. Home rule is the ability for a city to address local problems through and by local decision makers with minimal state interference. Well deserved, Dan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And home rule really is something that is, especially in a city of our size, that Tallahassee has tried to strip away from us. And without boring you with all the details, it's basically the best government is the government closest to the people, and Tallahassee tried to really strip us from that. So thanks for your hard work and the group's hard work with that. And on a sad note, longtime Oldsmar resident Claude Jean, who has been a resident of Oldsmar for some time and been on many of our boards. I'm not sure exactly how many, but the years served on the boards has probably surpassed how old he was, but we lost him over the weekend. So thoughts and prayers to Claude Jean and his family. We actually have some of his property down by the library that he had sold to the city. So thoughts and prayers to his family. So with that, that'll wrap up the mayor's minute. Our next item on the agenda is our consent docket. We have a couple items. Approve the minutes of the April 3rd, 2018 City Council meeting. Approve payment to legal counsel. Authorize the city manager to advertise 2018-006 RFQ Professional Services Construction Engineering Inspection. Item 4, authorize the city manager advertise 2018-007 RFQ Utilities General Engineering Consultants. And the final item is approve the tentative agenda for May 1st, 2018. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is the City of Oldsmar. First item is presentation of the Employee Service Award, and our city manager, Al Braithwaite, will do that.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one award winner tonight, another 20-year recipient from our library, Miss Jane Lingle. Jane, what's up? I'll give you that. I don't, but, whoa. I definitely don't. Hi, Janie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you bring your brother?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Do you want to bring him up?
Yeah. Come on, Dad.
Usually if, husband and wife, brother and sister, we always give the check to the lady, but this really is Jane's. Congratulations, here's your check.
Thank you. Yeah, he ain't getting there.
Okay, good, good. Here's your plaque.
Thank you, Al.
Sarah, how are you?
Pretty good, sir.
Nice to see you. Welcome. And I'm pretty sure you know how this goes. I read a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Elizabeth Jane Lingle and IJ.
Wait for it.
Getting away with this. Come on,
Wait for it.
IJ.
Do it.
Wait for it. Yes. Jane chose to sleep through those pictures, but who can blame her? Yeah, who can blame her? That was my fault. I found it. I would have used your driver's license, but it wasn't even as good a picture as that. Anyway, Elizabeth Jane Lingle's 20th anniversary. I refer to Jane, she doesn't know this, I just made this up, as the glue. On every team, there are role players, some that others consider superstars, some that consider themselves superstars. Those people are out in front of everything related to the franchise or the operation and generally get most of the attention. That's all well and good, but in team sports, as in business, the people you need the most are what I like to call the glue. As implied by the name, they are the people that keep the entire operation together and running smoothly, rarely getting any of the credit. Jane Lingle is the glue that keeps the library running smoothly. Translation, she does it all. We are here to celebrate her 20-year anniversary, which was on April 6, 2018. Obviously, she was hired on April 6th of 1998. She is a support services librarian and has been since the beginning. Think about that, 20 years in the same job, kind of like being on the same sports team for your whole career, which we know doesn't happen very often anymore. Notably, Jane was nominated for the Brunson Schreckengost Award in December of 2017. She participates in the city's Olds Leadership Development Program. She was vital to the library move to the new building. She spent a good part of her career right in this building when this was the library. She was nominated for the City Manager's Impact Award in February of 2005. She totally absorbed Linda Brunson's job duties during her illness and eventual passing. Linda was a dear friend of ours whose sister worked here, whose dad used to be the mayor. And the significance of that event when you have an employee that's struggling physically, Jane had to take on all of her job duties and eventually do them all for quite a period of time after she passed. And I mention that not to be sad and morbid, but to point out how significant it is to have somebody that's able and willing to do all the things that Jane can do. And that's why I go back to my point about she does it all. She's also been the president of the Sunline Users Group of the TBLC, representing the city. I have no idea, but actually I do know what TBLC is. Tampa Bay Library Consortium.
Yeah.
Hey, look at
Her
you,
long
city
list of
manager.
responsibilities, which I will go over briefly. She supervises the circulation and technical services area of the library. She orders, processes, and catalogs library materials for collection. She prepares payments for purchases and tracks materials budgets. That's a very important one because finance is a pain in the butt. Oh, wait. I come from finance, so I'm allowed to say that. She oversees the library automation system. She represents the library at local organizational meetings and groups. She administers circulation policies and procedures, which we call the fun stuff, enforcing rules, fines, and fees on accounts. And almost as importantly, some of her other duties are apparently, and I'm really disappointed that I haven't had the benefit of these yet, but apparently one of your most significant accomplishments is the cookies you make at Christmas.
You haven't forgotten any of them?
Come on, Janie, geez. So hopefully I've just ensured that I'm going to get him this Christmas. That's why I mentioned that. She can cover for anyone in any department if needed, and has. But I don't think she's done a story time yet. Is that true, Sue?
Yeah, and it'll never.
It's not going to happen. Okay. Also, if that weren't enough, she hires staff, she trains staff, she supervises staff, and oftentimes she serves as the director in the director's absence. Everybody get the picture? Jane is indispensable to the library and to our organization. I'm sure you can imagine how difficult it would be to operate on even a single day when she isn't here. I've known Janie for almost 20 years, and she's a wonderful representative of this organization. She has been for a very long time. You won't find anyone who's better at her job, and the list of things she is responsible for is seemingly endless. You won't find a nicer person, and she gets very little credit for all that she continues to do for us. Janie, congratulations on your first 20 years. Thank you for all you do, and I want you to know how proud I am that you're on my team. I can't wait for the next 20 years. My mom, who I've said to you guys on several occasions, was a lifetime librarian, and she would say that you are the MVP. You make everybody else better. Sorry, congratulations. Would you like to say something?
Okay, no.
Would you like to say something? Somebody needs to. I started crying.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Linda and I never left.
Al, Jane had to fill some large shoes when she took Linda's job,
Sorry.
and she filled them graciously.
Sir?
Thank you. Yeah, I know I had large shoes to fill with Linda.
You had large shoes to fill, and you did it very graciously. Thank you.
Thank you. I still have her voice in my head of how I should do things.
Sometimes I'll walk the park and go by her bench,
Oh, yeah.
which needs to be cleaned up, by the way. Linda was an incredible lady, and you filled her shoes to the T.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
She wasn't shy, was she?
No.
Thanks, Jenny.
And she had opinions about everything. Some people say,
About mom without crying.
Next two items, one is the presentation of the Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengoss Award, and the next is the Council Manager Award, and I will be doing both of those. If we have the historic video, that'd be great.
The Homer Brunson Award Schreckengoss Award was instituted in 1991, and what it was for, it was for one of our workers here in the city that was chosen by their peers to win the Ward Schreckengoss Homer Brunson Award. And what the award is, it serves two purposes. One, to recognize an outstanding worker here that works for the city of Oldsmar. And the other, what it serves is that Ward Schreckengoss and Homer Brunson were both council members here in the city of Oldsmar. Ward Schreckengoss served as mayor for 16 years. His last year on the council serving was 1970. I had the privilege of serving with him on his last year. And Homer Brunson served 11 years as a council member and 1 year as a mayor. And this serves two purposes: to honor Ward Schreckengoss and Homer Brunson, and to honor one of the incredible workers we have in the city of Oldsmar.
Thank you for that, Mr. Beaverly. And it's my honor and pleasure to present this. Todd could come up. Todd Cash.
He also brings his big smile.
Congratulations. Thank you. We don't do this here very often, but we made this check out to Cash. So I'll go ahead and read this, and this is great because it's a nomination from the
Mr. Mayor?
employees of the city. Yeah.
Need the microphone for the thousands at home watching?
Yeah. The thousands. So, and they wrote a little something about Todd, which this probably only touches the tip of the iceberg about it. And so I'll go ahead and read it. Tom is nominated for this award for operational changes related to the laboratory testing that will save the division more than $20,000 annually. And I hear the numbers probably even a little bit higher. He was recognized that our other utilities with good regulatory history were granted variances in some regulatory testing. In addition, Todd investigated the cost of maintaining the facilities laboratory certification versus contracting all laboratory testing. Maintaining a laboratory certification requires extensive record keeping, registration cost, laboratory supplies, proficiency testing, and training. Furthermore, the state transferred laboratory certification and inspection work to the private sector approximately 5 years ago, resulting in the certification upkeep becoming more cumbersome and expensive. There are a few private inspectors available or close, so the city incurs travel expenses for the inspectors as part of the bid for work. Thanks to Todd's research and positive compliance history, the FDEP reduced sampling for 2 tests from 7 days to 4 days. The city applied for the reduction in February, and a final approval is pending public notification. In addition, the WRF will be contracting all the lab work to a private laboratory to save extensive staff time and budgeting. We applaud Todd for managing the WRF budget as if it were his own personal budget, while also retaining such a positive compliance record that a variance would even be considered. So it's my honor to, I'll read this, the Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengoss Governmental Award presented to Todd Cash for his outstanding service, dedication, and leadership to the City of Oldsmar, 2018 first quarter. It's either this or story time.
Get sideways. I just want to say thank you. You know, it's been an honor. You know, it's an honor working here. I've been here a long time. So it's a
He
good
takes
place
us
to work.
places we don't even want to go.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Someday, Todd, we may give you a new building to work in, and you have to get out of that other one.
Way to go, TC.
Next is our council manager award, and we take turns and rotate who gets the award. And I would like to bring up Drew McMullen, if I could get him to come up here. Oh, that's you. I didn't recognize you. We don't both normally see each other in this kind of attire. Normally it's flip-flops and shorts. So it's a great honor for me to be able to present this. Drew works for Beamworks, which is right over on St. Pete Drive by the library. And Beamworks has received the award from the city, but it's more important to acknowledge some of the staff that really put it on. And I think we can all attest that we have some of the best festivals in the city of Oldsmar. And we just had a very successful Oldsmar Days. And I know when I see you sitting up there on the stage that everything is going to go right, because we've had instances where you have not been there, and it does not go as smoothly, especially when you have bands like the Superstars that bring 87 people and everybody needs a mic check. So you're the backbone of Beamworks that really makes things happen, not only for the city of Oldsmar, but I know you do a lot of other work. And I'll just read a little bit about what was written. Drew is the operations manager at Beamworks events here in Oldsmar. Beamworks handles most of the city's larger audiovisual productions throughout the year, as well as other AV events across the country. Drew and his wife have a baby girl, and the second baby is on the way when? October. All right, congratulations. Outside of Beamworks, he coaches girls competitive soccer and serves on the board at Dunedin Sterling Soccer Club. He's also on the board of Spark the Way, an Oldsmar-based nonprofit organization that supports young adults with cancer. So it is my honor to acknowledge one of the hardest working guys in audio-visual that I know, and I'll go ahead and read this. The Council Manager Award of Recognition presented to Drew McMullen, April 2018.
I think I'm pretty good at these ones. I just want to say thank you guys. I mean, it's always a pleasure. I mean, Dan, we've worked together before. I've seen a lot of you guys at the events that we help out, and it's just always a pleasure helping out the city that we work in, and you guys do an awesome job, and it's just our pleasure to be a part of that. So we thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Congratulations, Joe.
Awesome. Congratulations, Jeff.
Congrats.
Excited about this next one.
Suit up.
Might start a new trend. I don't wear ties to council meetings, and I might not wear shoes next time after this next one.
Sequence too, or?
Well, probably. Yeah, we'll stop at that.
Council meetings.
Yeah. Our next item is a presentation by Tampa Bay Water Ski Team. I don't know who's doing the facilitating, but
All of us.
all right. We're excited.
All right.
We were gonna flood the council chambers full of water, but
If you'd be willing to put on a show here,
Yeah.
this would be really interesting. Mayor Vivas, council members, those in attendance, the thousands watching at home. On behalf of the Tampa Bay Water Ski Show team, we appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. I'm Brian Daggy. This is Jim Wilmoth. We have Lily Daggy, my daughter. We have Eden Knuth, Kaylee Skid, and Kenzie Peacock. They're going to be demonstrating a couple things tonight. First of all, who all has been to one of our shows, water ski shows? Was it awesome? Everyone love it?
Yeah.
Okay, some of my goals or objectives tonight are, one, to thank you in the city of Oldsmar for your past support, okay? Next is to ask for your continued and future support of our team, and also get the word out about our team and encourage you, your families, friends, and other members of Oldsmar and the Tampa Bay area to come and experience our shows. It's a great show, family friendly. I'll tell you a bit more about it, but did you know that we have been performing at Tower Lake for the last, 40?
25 years.
25 years at Tower Lake. Everyone know where Tower Lake is?
Yep.
Okay, right off of Douglas Road.
The lake with the big tower.
Exactly right, 2 of them, and our lake is right in between them. Go ahead, actually I think I've got the slide clicker. Okay, I'm not going to read our mission verbatim. You can take a look at that if you'd like, but what I would say is that we truly live out our mission every day. Part of that is to continue to add new members to our team every year. We provide great world-class entertainment to the public for free. Not many things you can do to get great entertainment for free. And we help build character, responsibility, teamwork, and great friendships, as you'll see among these young girls right here. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that puts these shows on, as I mentioned, for free. Did I say that? For free? Every single week from March through the end of October. Every single Saturday. What I'll do now is go ahead and go to the next slide. What's interesting about this slide is that it kind of shows that we have people on this team that actually participate in ski from age 7 to age 70, and they are in these acts every single week. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the pre-show. Who all seen the pre-show as well? You know, there's the main show at 6 o'clock, and then you've got the 5:30 pre-show, which is the newer skiers that are learning to ski. Just a year and a half ago, I was in the pre-show. My daughter was in the pre-show 2.5 years ago. Some of these girls, believe it or not, have been on the team for 4, 5, 6 years, which is pretty impressive. But you'll see that some of our newer skiers in these acts, and some of the things they do are pretty cool. And what they do, the goal is to get into the regular show at 6 o'clock. They have a lot of talent, and it's great to come out when you do come to a show. Try to come out by 5:30 so you can see some of these newer skiers progress from week to week, from the time they're brand new to they're in the pyramids doing ballet, some of the things that these girls are going to show you a little bit later. The ballet line. This is I think one of our more impressive acts. The talent of these young ladies to ski together with no hands, as you will see, being pulled by their foot, sometimes backwards, is amazing. The girls here tonight are actually in that ballet line, believe it or not. I mean, look at the ages and sizes of these girls. Some of them have been in this line for the last few years. Our team was the first team in the world to do a toe turn in a ballet line. And that's where the ladies actually all turn in a line and are pulled backward. So what I'd like for the girls to do right now is go ahead and give you a demonstration of just a couple of things that they can do on their skis, and these are called swivel skis. So these skis, the bindings on there can actually go 360. So go ahead and go ahead and take turns and demonstrate.
Can you switch to the camera?
Ajay.
So who's first? Lily, what are you going to show us?
First, I'm going to show one of the most difficult tricks, getting into the binding. I finally mastered that. All right. And then this is called knee hold, where you then are being pulled by the boat from your knee.
Wow.
And then you're free with your upper body to do arm ballet. Or, once you're a little more comfortable with this, turn around land, you can even turn backwards. You pulled by your knee, and then once you're ready, you just turn back forward.
Excellent.
And that's one of the tricks we sometimes do. It's not the most difficult one, surprisingly.
Well, looks like it.
And who's next? And we have Eden. And what are you demonstrating?
I'm going to be demonstrating rope between the legs.
Rope between the legs.
It's exactly what it sounds like. You're going to cut the rope in between your legs. And then you are also free with your upper body, so you can do arm ballet. And then one of the tricks I'm still learning is learning to it in the back and go in the front too. You move your legs all around. And then you go into a swan.
Okay, and who's next? Kenzie, what are you going to show us?
I'm going to show you a toe turn.
Toe turn. All right. And I should have asked how long each of these girls have been skiing. So, Lily, you've been skiing for the last
3 years.
3 years. Eden?
I've been skiing the last 2, but I just joined the team last year.
All right, about the last year. Kenzie?
5 years.
5 years. Kaylee? 8? 6?
8. 8.
8 years, my goodness. Okay, excellent.
What, when you were 0, you started?
It's amazing.
Hold and gain more food with your upper body. And turn.
Oh, I couldn't even do that.
And this is the act that I mentioned, that our team here was the first team in the world to do a toe turn in competition,
Very cool.
unique to the Tampa Bay Water Ski Show team.
So the foothold actually moves on
Yeah.
the skis?
Yeah.
Okay, very
He's
neat.
right now on a 180, meaning it goes 180, but you can actually, where it's open and it will go complete 360. So the skill that it takes is amazing. And Kaylee, what are you going to show us? And then we'll move along.
This trick that I'm going to show you, it's called flip turn. It's more advanced than a toe turn because you use your arm instead of your foot. Toe turns sound more hard or harder, but flip turns harder. So what you do is you hold the handle in your hand, and you flip it over as you're turning, and you just are held by your hand.
And that's a more advanced trick too. So these girls start off from not being able to ski at all to progress through these different types of things to where it's amazing to watch what they can do on the water. And I think Jim wanted to add something.
Quick comment. 25 years ago, that's how I got involved with the team. They're not much older than these girls here. They're still skiing. My oldest daughter's 43. She's still on the team, still skiing. It's been a wonderful thing. And they made friends on the team that they still see now, even though they live in different states. So that's an amazing thing that happens with the team, is you make lifelong friends.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Great point.
What
Matter
year
of
did
fact,
y'all start? You've been here almost as long as I have, but what year did you start?
The origins of the team go back almost 50 years under several different names, but we've been here in the Oldsmar area for about 25 years. Before we came here, we skied in Tampa, Egypt Lake at one
You're
time.
longer than 25 years out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been here for 52 years, and you almost was right behind when we moved here, because y'all been out there forever.
Yeah. The Tower Lake is such a wonderful site for our skiers because there's no other boats on the lake. It is private property. We know that the water has depth. We know there's no obstacles that the kids are going to hit. We know that we can practice our routines, run the boats, and do the music without disturbing any
I do
residents.
want to tell you all, y'all have supported the city of Oldsmar longer than the city of Oldsmar has supported you, and that is sad.
So we get great support from the city.
You
But
do,
looking for
you
more.
do now.
Thank you.
You're also going to have a brand new road next to
Yeah,
our lake.
that'll be great.
Yep.
Thank you, yes. Excellent. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? This next slide is showing our doubles act, and one of the interesting things here is one of our doubles duos just recently got second place in the nation at last year's national championship for show skiing. And yes, there really is such a thing as a national championship for show skiing. So we have some amazing talent, and I was mentioning earlier, we actually have some of the best skiers in the entire world. There are some of our skiers that go around to different countries performing for kings, queens, dignitaries, politicians, and it's amazing the talent that we have on this team. Not me, not us, but
Girl named Haley on the right-hand side being held up there. She joined the team when she was a teenager, very interested. Her dad was bringing her out because she couldn't drive, obviously. She was, young teen. Dad started watching how things were going. He said, I just don't feel like sitting out here without doing something. So he joined the team and became active, became a skier and doing other things. His wife, Haley's mom, started coming out, became a boat pinner, and worked in costumes and became our treasurer. And they had a son that wasn't interested in skiing at all. He would just come out and hit a soccer ball around, had no interest at all in skiing. But one day we put a costume on him and he did something on stage with one of our routines, got hooked, became a jumper, and he's traveled around the world, doing things like that. So it's a thing where the family grows. The young man holding Haley, they met in school, they were dating. He realized if he was going to have any chance with her, he had to learn how to ski.
Smart kid.
So he's a member of the team and a very good skier, and they got married, and they're expecting their first child now.
Another skier.
that's right.
Yeah.
Start them
Very
young.
cool.
The next one shows our trios acts. That's a lot of fun. I have a lot of memories about that. That's actually how I got started skiing, and I have a similar story. My daughter started skiing about 3 years ago, and my wife and I were just helping out behind the scenes, costumes, different things. They kept looking at me. You look like you could ski. I've never skied before in my life. We'll teach you. So about 6 months later, I'm in the show doing trios, and that's me in one of those up there, actually a couple of them. And we're actually working on some new acts this year, tabletop, the one on the left, which is kind of new for us, where we're actually holding the girl above our head. So it's not as easy as it looks, but it is a lot of fun.
It doesn't really look that easy.
Okay, then it's hard and it looks hard. Star Swan and Swivel, those are some of the things that these girls just demonstrated. So again, as they progress and get better, they have more types of things that they can do in the show. And again, the talent of these young ladies is amazing. And just think, as they progress, they're going to do more things with the team as well. The next two slides are our jumpers and our barefooters. And I think you have to be crazy to do both of those, because it's always interesting when you see the jumpers and barefooters, because when they make their act, it's really incredible. But when they don't make their act and they wipe out, that's really incredible too. So people love to see those acts. Let's see. As a matter of fact, some of those two things right there, you're getting up to speeds of about 40 miles an hour. And think about that. He's doing that 40 miles an hour with no skis.
Yeah, that's
pretty impressive. This is very interesting too. That's a 10-person wrap, and we say wrap because there are 2 or 3 girls in that, or in the current wrap that we're doing right now. We actually are tied for a world record right now with this act of 10 people behind the boat. You're going full speed, 360 degrees around the boat, and it's amazing when they make this act. And stay tuned. Sometime during this season, we are looking to do 11 and actually have the world record to ourselves, to the Tampa Bay Water Ski Show team in Oldsmar. The next couple of slides show our pyramids. For those of you that have been to the shows, you may have heard and see that this is one of the most iconic acts in show skiing, one of the most photographed acts in show skiing. This right here is our 3-tier pyramid. It's three tiers. There's 18 people right there. One of the things I like to tell about the pyramid is the timing and concentration just to get off the dock without falling is pretty impressive. I don't know who all has seen how we get started, but for all of our pyramids, the guys are sitting on the dock with the girls on their shoulders, right? Then the boat has to take off with enough speed and power to get anywhere from 18 to 24 people or more off the dock without them falling. So we're praying, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. Then once we actually get up off the dock, we spend that first lap building the pyramid. We're standing there, trying not to fall, give a solid base, then the girls start climbing on your shoulders. And ideally, they get up to 3 or 4 levels high. And what a gratifying feeling it is when you're going past center stage and you know you've built a 3 or 4 tier pyramid and the crowd is going nuts. It's a lot of fun. We then spend the next lap disassembling while trying not to fall, with the girls climbing down onto the guys' skis and then the guys gliding to the shore, getting the girls to the stage, hopefully without getting them wet or messing up their makeup. The next one, to me, that's even more impressive. Wow. The one on our right is one that we did in tournament last year. It was the highest scoring act of the tournament. That's a double top 4-tier high pyramid, and I believe 2 of those young ladies are at the very top of the pyramid right there. And then the next one in the smaller left-hand corner is a 3-4-3. That's 24 people that were pulled off the dock to do that pyramid. Wow.
Makes our city council pyramid look pretty weak, doesn't it?
Maybe we need a council water ski
We'd like to see it.
I knew that's coming from you. I'm just waiting for it.
A lot better too.
This should be a video, I believe, if it works. There we go.
There you go.
And that's the 3-4-3.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's great.
So again, that's pretty impressive, especially when you see the whole thing from the beginning to end. And one thing I didn't mention too is that well, I mentioned that we're out there every single Saturday. Every show is a different theme. So like this last Saturday was the 80s theme, which was really cool because we actually have a stage. It's not just the skiing acts go by, it's actually a stage where you have performance as well. We've got MCs up there that dress up in character. So we had some guys dressed up as punk rocker or hard rockers from the 80s. We have people, we do an ABBA tribute show where they're dressed up as ABBA. We've done Jimmy Buffett shows. So every single show is something totally different. So people really like coming out. Once you come out, for those of you that have been out once already, when you come back, you are now a groupie. On your first time, you're a newbie. So we do a lot to try to put on a really good show for everyone. On this last, actually, did you want to say something? Okay, this is the last slide, and what I'd like to share with you here is that we perform, as I mentioned, on Tower Lake between the two big towers that you mentioned. Every single Saturday from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Mid-March through the end of October. That's a long season, and we're there every single week. We also have a bonus show the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Last year we actually had two that day, one at 1 o'clock and one at 4 o'clock, based on the movie Elf, which is hilarious. So if you've not seen that, come back this year and you'll see that as well. We have covered bleacher seating. That's very important because it's very hot during the summer. So a lot of people, and we just did that last year, put the covered seating out there. We have a concession stand with cold drinks and food. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, all volunteer team, and we rely on the goodwill of our fans and the magic donation buckets to keep going from week to week. So newbies follow the groupies to the magic donation buckets. We also rely on the goodwill of the city of Oldsmar and local businesses to get the word out and to support us however we can. So in conclusion, what I would say is we hopefully are looking for things that you guys can do to maybe support our team to get the word out there. As you mentioned, we do a lot of things to support the community. We did a booth at Oldsmar Days a few weeks ago. We had a float in the parade. We support other nonprofits ourselves. But the biggest thing we're trying to do is get the word out. We saw 10,000 fans last year and no one knows we're there. We should easily see 50,000 people a year. So we're doing some things this year with a new program. We're getting out, talking to local businesses, things like this, to try to get the word out for you guys. You come out and see a show, tell your friends and family, and do what we can to support the city of Oldsmar, and hopefully you guys can support the team as well. So at this point,
on our website?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. I think they're out there.
and we've just joined the local Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce, the Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce. We're going to have a Oldsmar Day at the lake for the three of the combined chambers in May. So we're doing a lot of things to try to get that word out. At this point, thank you for letting us ramble on and demonstrate, but are there any questions for us that we may not have answered?
How many members are a part of this?
Currently have close to 100
50
members.
skiers and about 50 support people like me that I don't ski, but I mow, I pick up garbage, I help with parking, things like that.
Okay.
So we have a lot of volunteers cooking hamburgers.
Good. The road should help tremendously to make that connection between Tampa Road and Tower Lake, for sure.
Absolutely.
Very excited about seeing that road. I think you're one of those gems in our city that, you know, should be shared more
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. But I do believe getting that road cut through is going to make that possible.
That's going to do wonders and that road's being cut through probably in the next year and a half.
They're doing work out there right now on the gas line, I think.
It's amazing how much they've done in the last week and a half.
There's going to be a ton of traffic go down that road.
It's going to make a huge.
There'd be a lot of people that don't even know that lake was there, so much less you guys. So I know I've talked with the city to see how we can help cross-promote you, and, you know, we kind of pride ourselves on being a little bit different with the zip line and the,
Oh,
you know,
the
the BMX,
ecotourism.
and this fits right in our wheelhouse.
There's only 5 water ski teams in all of Florida. In the Midwest, there's dozens, if not hundreds.
Cypress Gardens is gone.
It's gone.
You're the heroes now.
We are, yeah. So basically us, and there's just a couple of others. But like you said, where else can you go do this? The zip line, the BMX ski team.
Y'all ever do any cross-promoting with the zip lining group and some of the other? Because, you know, sometimes I think to myself, between Empower Adventures and some of the other amenities that we have built here, that packaging them together for tourists to come,
Disc
and
golf.
visitors.
Yeah.
Disc golf.
Yeah, disc golf, that there's,
Package it with
I mean, I know we do a
with the
lot of, we've
bicycles.
done a lot of stuff with promotions that the city clerk's office has done now. But I almost wonder sometimes we shouldn't be putting some more literature or something like that at some of the hotels and so forth nearby.
Yeah.
Or within the city to help let people know what we've got.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a quick question. Do you have any problem with alligators?
That's a very good question because pretty much any body of water is going to have
Yeah.
gators. So we see them from time to time. The girls usually name them. And then depending on how big they get, we have them taken out. So we've not had any problem with any incidents. Usually when we first get out there, we run the boat around the lake a couple of times and that scares them off or they go under or whatever. But to my knowledge, we've never had an incident and hopefully we never will.
Well, because when I was there, I remember I saw a little gator. He wasn't that big. I mean, he was pretty tiny. When we were parked, I could see him on the sideline. He was like,
Yeah, I'm
'cause
sure
you
when that
guys were
boat
out there
cranks up,
moving the,
they scatter.
he
Yeah.
was hiding.
If
Back,
we forget to the
back in the
point,
70s, late 70s and early 80s, I'd go out there with some of the cops out to the lake, and you all weren't really there at that time. And you could take one of those power lights they have on their,
Oh, yeah.
See the lights, see the eyes.
yeah, don't listen, girls.
but you shine it out there, and all you see is eyeballs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's changed
I
since then.
mean, hundreds of eyeballs,
changed a lot.
But that was a long time ago.
glowing red.
I used to ski.
Girls are not
I
scared
used to
of
ski
gators.
in
They play
Wakeford
in the
out at
lake
Lake
all the
Tarpon
time.
and never had a problem out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of gators in Lake Tarpon.
We actually, and that's a good point. We actually not only ski at our home site about 30 times a year, like I said, every weekend from March to the end of October, but we actually are paid to go out and put on shows. We did about 10 paid shows last year, and we get anywhere from $750 to $2,000 to go put on a show. We did it twice at Tarpon Turtle last year,
Did you?
out on Lake Tarpon.
Yeah.
We did a couple times at Lake Weir. We've done Lake Seminole, Lake Carroll. Harbor Island. So there's several. So that's another part of getting the word out. Now, our home shows come first, but that is a great way to supplement our income to help continue to put the shows together. But to your point too about cross-promoting, we are working more with a publicity team on our team. I'm actually part of the publicity team. Jim's wife is part of it. And we are looking for more opportunities to get the word out, whether it's partnering with the Zipline people or whoever. So what I'd like to do is make sure our publicity people get in touch with your publicity people and get some ideas going. And do lunch,
Go
yes.
skiing.
Go skiing, come
Can
out.
you get with the bike, the Gator Nationals or the bike out here?
That's a great idea.
There's a ton of people
From all over the world
all over the world.
coming out.
Awesome. Well, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
You got your arm up? Are you going to get up here and ski?
I just want to know if your four-tier pyramid violates height restrictions in the industrial park.
We use our shorter people at each level.
We don't consider that a structure.
Yeah, that's not a permanent structure. That's not a permanent structure.
So I do have one more question. So how quickly do you typically get a complete beginner up on skis skiing?
From a beginner to what now, sorry?
Just to getting a beginner up on skis who
8
comes out.
seconds, as soon as it takes
As
you to
soon as
get
it
off the
snatches
dock.
you off the
I'm not
dock.
talking about by your face. I'm saying standing.
It really ranges per person. Like I said, I started about 2 years ago after never skied before in my life, and it took me about 8 tries to finally get up out of the water. And then they took me out to a setup, and a couple of big guys got on either side of me, got me up, and oh, that's how it feels. So some people pop right up. So it just depends on your motivation, and
Well, I was just thinking about city council being out.
come out, we'll do a ski day.
To see that.
This city councilman had already done that out here in the bay, and they told me to get into the hobby.
And that is funny because that is one more thing that we do when you talk about giving back to the community. We have learn to ski clinics as well. So not only do we go out and put on shows, but if there are people that come out and hey, I'd like to learn to do this, we actually do clinics for people to come out and ski. So we'd love to do a council clinic sometime.
I'll let the other
I'm busy
councilman
that
do
day.
that.
Thank you.
I can't say
Gabby,
that. so.
please, Gabby would challenge us.
Oh, I know
But
she would.
I wake surf, so
Yeah,
I
I've
should
seen you,
surf.
videos, yeah.
You have too many injuries already. I wouldn't.
I don't care, that's why I have them. I always say yes.
Let's check with your wife. All right, well, thank you so much for that. You're welcome to hang out. We're getting to the exciting part of it as I turn it over to our city attorney.
Okay, I see.
You want to see him on skis?
Yeah.
I can see me on skis. Okay, so item number 10 on your agenda is the first reading and public hearing of ordinance 2018-03. This is the sign code changes, and you'll remember back in 2015, the United States Supreme Court issued an opinion that addressed and basically made unconstitutional every sign ordinance in the state of Florida. And so, based upon that case, the town of Gilbert versus Arizona, we started redrafting your code. And we have brought it to you at your work session on March 13th, and it was reviewed by my associate, Rob Eschenfelder. And it was also brought to the planning board on April 11th. With your direction of moving forward with it and with a 5-0 vote to move forward with the sign regulations, you have in front of you the draft that we prepared. This is the same draft that you saw at the work session. So I'll go ahead and read it by title only. It's ordinance 2018-03, an ordinance of the city of Oldsmar, Florida, relating to signs, amending or repealing portions of Article 2, 13, and 14 of the City Code, Part 3 of the Land Development Code concerning sign regulations and sign-related definitions, amending Articles 2 and 4 of the City Code, Part 4, Town Center Development Code concerning sign regulations and sign-related definitions, amending Section 42-44 and 50-32 of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 3.17 of the Land Development Code, amending Section 5.1.2 of the Land Development Code, amending Section 14.8.8 of the Land Development Code, providing for purpose, intent, and scope, providing for status of existing nonconforming signs, making related findings, providing for codification of severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2018-03 by title only.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this item from the public? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and need a motion for discussion purposes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Yep.
This is going to be monumental, and this is probably a little early to ask this question, but who's going to execute this? Don't look at me like that. Who's going to execute it? I know you're all going to implement it, but who's going to execute it?
Enforce it.
Oh, enforce it?
Yeah.
Code enforcement.
Okay, code enforcement. I talked to Al. Are we going to warn these people what's happening? Now, what people are we talking about? The people that have signs. Are we going to give them an upgrade that be prepared when we come and say that's illegal? Should we not give them some kind of warning?
Yes, we will.
We'll follow the code enforcement process.
Well, you're going to follow the code enforcement process. You're going to walk up to their door and say, you know, you're illegal now with your signs. They're going to say, what are you talking about? We've had these same signs for the last 15 years.
Do we have currently a list of people who are, that we know,
Non-compliant?
that would not be compliant with these changes?
Well, first of all, you need to understand that those that have signs previously are going to be grandfathered in, and so they'll be able to retain those legally permitted signs that were in place until such time as they come into non-conforming status, which would mean that the sign has either been destroyed by more than 50% or has otherwise fallen down.
Okay, how about?
And then at that time, they're going to have to go through the permitting process, and then the current sign code would apply. As for those people that have illegal, non-conforming signs right now, or just illegal signs because they were adopted or they were put up without going through the permitting process, we would use the same code enforcement action that we normally do, and that's by way of, first of all, discussion with them by the code enforcement officer explaining the code, and if they don't bring it into compliance, then it would be followed up usually with a courtesy letter. If we don't believe that that's going to be successful, and may just go ahead and issue the notice of violation. Obviously, they have the opportunity to come before the code enforcement board and express their position, and then the code enforcement board will make a determination as to whether or not they're really in violation of the code.
Is this going to take more enforcement now is it gonna take more of a, than one person
More staff.
to begin with? If you're gonna have some people out there who's gonna be violating this thing right and left.
Yeah, my experience in doing these for other cities is that you're not going to see a huge influx of sign code violations. We treat them just like we do otherwise, and that is that we can either do it proactively, go out and search for these violations, reactively where someone has made a complaint, and it all depends on the direction that the city wants to take. If you want to be very proactive, then I would say yes, you'll probably need to have the code enforcement officer maybe section off portions of the city, north of Tampa Road, south of Tampa Road, east of certain position or west, and so forth, and just pick sections and proactively search for violations.
I
You
think
can do
that's
it
the only
that
way I think that's the way to go, and that way they get educated real quick of what's going on.
It's just the approach that the city manager wants to take on, first of all, whether it's a problem, and then second of all, how he wants to accomplish that.
Well, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I speak in favor of the ordinance, but I would suggest, or at least have the city manager consider, that perhaps while we go through the hearing process, and this is being the first reading, that perhaps if there are some very well-known folks who are going to be impacted by this, although I guess they're already grandfathered in, but maybe from a promotion standpoint, if there are those who have a concern, make sure they're here at the next hearing.
I would second that. I think we need to be kind of proactive on that. It's like, hey, it's coming, gang.
I guess I have a question, and I don't know if we know the answer to this. I mean, do we have a substantial amount of businesses or whatever it is that are in violation? I would think that we've tried to stay fairly on top of it. I don't know if there's an answer to that.
These signs that they move around, are they a violation now?
The spinners? Yeah.
But they're going to be a violation after we pass this on the second
Well, they
reading.
usually do them on Saturdays, but I think at the work session, Al had asked Rick to come
Yeah,
a few
stagger some
Saturdays
days.
out of.
Done.
Yeah, to check and see if they were spinning signs. And I didn't see any recently, so.
No, I mean, I would like to think we have it fairly under control. Is that safe to assume?
Well, Greg has done what we've asked him to do. He's rotated and worked some Saturdays. I tend to be here all the time, so I thought there was a noticeable lack of things that I used to see, so I think it's had some positive effect. As far as the approach to enforcement, once the new ordinance is placed, I would ask that we make that part of the budget process, and we can discuss council's wishes for an approach to philosophy, and if the approach to philosophy requires more resources, then we'll consider if we want to add a person or add a different way to go about it.
Okay.
I think without being able to nail you with specific stats, I think the approach we've taken so far is having an effect. Maybe it's not as far as we want to go, but it's helpful.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this item? Anybody? No? Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee? Yes. Councilmember Beverland?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2018-03, amending a land development code and town center development code concerning sign regulations, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11, excuse me, is approved recommendation to award contract 2018-003, invitation to bid for the Woodland Square Lift Station rehabilitation. The background is that the project involves the replacement of faulty piping and valves, bypass pumping, programming, and installation of remote communications with the city's SCADA system, and replacement of the perimeter fencing. The location is in the Woodland Square Shopping Center. As you know, the developer is contributing $35,000 to the cost of the effort, and there was a total of 4 bids received for the reference project. References were verified for the low bidder, which is Carl Hankins. He's performed work for City of Tampa and Hillsborough County. The work will be completed based on unit prices in the bid at a maximum amount of $118,482. Funds for this project are approved in the capital budget program in GL account 401-536-60-6341. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Need a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on this? I only have one question, maybe somebody else was going to ask it too, but why such a substantial difference between a couple of these and a low bid? Do we know? I mean, I always wonder sometimes if either the person that got the low bid is missing something, which kind of happened, I think, in our canopies over at the BMX track, or these people are putting in gold-plated components, or, I mean, that's a huge, I mean, that's three times the amount.
You know, on matters like this, Nan, you want to weigh in on that? Because I see it everywhere. We see it in all our bids, especially construction, but I couldn't tell you why.
Sometimes you can kind of throw a net over them and, you know, you're fairly close, but three times, one's almost twice, one's three times.
Nan Bennett, Public Works Director. A lot of times it has to do with understanding the project. Somebody that fully understands the project can bid a lot more aggressively. If someone's unfamiliar with it or doesn't understand what needs to be done, they put a lot of money out there.
Okay. And I see both sides of it. Why is one so high, but then the other one, why is it so low? Or, you know, hopefully they're not missing something that we're going to get, you know, a oops component to it. But, I mean.
We feel confident that the low bid is a good bid.
Reputable,
Yeah.
yep. No, that's fine, okay.
We had a bid at one time of the city engineer, not y'all, but a long time ago, said that the project would cost $16 million. And that's when we put together the program to pave the streets in town.
Mm-hmm.
And the paver, who, by the way, has been in business here in town for many years, come and bid it and saw things he could do different because of what we had here.
Sure.
He only saved us $16 million.
Yeah.
His bid was $1.5 million. So there is differences.
Oh, sure. Well, and there's a lot of things in value engineering too, you know, that you wind up getting too, so, and their experience, so, okay, I just have a question. Anybody else have any questions? No. Nope. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Passes 5-0, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12 is authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance annexing West Oldsmar Section Number 1, Block 10, Lot 8, into the corporate limits of the city of Oldsmar. Property to be annexed is located in West Oldsmar, which is an unincorporated area of Pinellas County. Subject property is currently vacant. The property owners intend to construct a single-family residence. Staff recommends approval. Available to answer any questions.
I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. What do you say, Mr. Beaverland?
One at a time.
One at a time. All right, any comments on this? Nope. Great to see.
Keep them coming.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0, thank you.
Mayor, item 13 is adopt resolution 2018-08, the 2017 concurrency test statement. City Council is asked to adopt resolution 2018-08, the concurrency test statement in accordance with Land Development Code Article 11, Section 11.2.2.2, concurrency test statement and monitoring system. This is an annual submittal of a concurrency test statement by the Planning and Redevelopment Department to the city manager, and it's required by Section 11.2.2.2 of the Land Development Code. The statement, after review by the Planning Board, shall be conveyed to the City Council for adoption by resolution, which is what this represents. The statement provides the expected impacts of approved developments on the city's public facilities, services, and remaining capacities. I'd like to read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2018-08, a resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, adopting the 2017 concurrency test statement pursuant to the requirements of the Land Development Code, Article 11, and providing an effective date. That's the reading of Resolution 2018-08.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion on this item?
We have it every year for the last 40 years.
Yep. Just a housekeeping thing. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. 5-0, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 14, adopt resolution 2018-05, reestablishing the Leisure Services Advisory Board. The recommendation is to adopt the resolution reestablishing the board. The background is in your packet. I'd like to read this resolution. Ms. Gannon spoke to this as part of Citizens Forum. I'd like to read the resolution by title only, and I'm available to answer any questions. Resolution 2018-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, reestablishing the Leisure Services Advisory Board, modifying the number of board members and quorum requirement, modifying attendance standards, modifying the frequency of meetings, repealing Resolution 2017-01 and providing for an effective date hereof. That's the reading of Resolution 2018-05. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Motion?
Second.
Second, motion and a second. Any discussion on this particular item? I guess my question, it's kind of a twofold question. You had brought up bylaws. Do other boards that we have bylaws? And if they don't, I think we should, especially when it gets down to, it's a two-part question, especially when it gets down to conduct and the way they act as a board.
That'll be an attorney.
I know the Firefighter Pension Board definitely does, I know that.
Policies.
I'm sorry?
Some of them have, the firefighter pension board has policies that they've adopted, but not necessarily bylaws. And then I think Tom was about to weigh in.
Well, yeah, most of them have rules of procedure on how they operate themselves. I think the word is being used interchangeably with rules of procedure, but yes, most boards or committees do that. If you want to control those rules of procedure, you can take that out of the resolution and create your own. But the idea is to give them a little bit of latitude as to how they're going to run themselves, so long as they do what the enabling resolution requires them to do. It's really, your call, but.
But we really don't need to complicate it any more than.
No, I don't mean complicated. And I guess it's a twofold question is, these boards are voluntary. They need to be respectful of each other and conduct themselves professionally. The second part of that question is who determines if the bylaws have been violated as it relates to conduct?
Well, this board's a little different than the other boards. In fact, this board is totally different than the other boards. If you knew the history of this board, you would know.
But I mean, the question applies to all of our boards
Well, let's be
potentially.
honest, even
This one's
councils
this
have
one's still
rules of
this one's
procedures
still a little different.
Select inappropriate and disrespectful, so it's, I mean, I don't know, I feel like it's a moot point, because even if you had a rule of procedures, let's say they didn't, people are still going to act in a certain manner.
Right, but as we heard tonight, if there's some behavior or conduct that's going on that should have been turned over to the police, I think that's a
Well, I
little
think
bit.
those things should need to come before the council and we consider removing that person from their appointment.
Right,
You know what
and
I
that's
mean?
exactly the way I
Like,
handle that.
Again, the history of this board is totally different
no,
than
I
the other
understand.
boards.
I get that.
But I
Okay,
think that was,
but
Ms. Gann's
these
point is the history doesn't matter anymore.
history.
Yeah, the history of this board does matter.
No, but my point is that this kind of, whether it's this board or another board, there should be a procedure to be able to remove
I
somebody.
totally agree. You know why this board was initially formed? Why it was formed?
Why?
And then why was it reformed? And actually, why it was reformed is probably the reason why he would want it down to have it reformed again to what it is now, because believe me, you want to vote for this.
No, this has nothing to do with voting for it. My question is about
Yeah.
the procedures for.
Yeah, I think the ability for the council to remove someone who shouldn't be on there
Have that.
is enough at the end of the day to be able to say,
Well, we have,
really problematic.
And what's the procedure? That the board moves that person, or collectively the board? I don't know what the procedure is. Would the
It
board?
could be a couple of different ways. It could be the board presenting that to you for your consideration or removal. It could be someone from the city clerk's office because they're inactive, they're not taking any action, and it is important enough for you to do it. Or, obviously, the city manager becomes aware of it some other way, he would bring it to you. But it would get to you one way or another.
And some of the things are already in here that missing so many meetings, that's kind of an automatic.
we
but
have someone there that answers directly to the city manager, and that's to the assistant city manager, Felicia, and she should be the one that handles what the board does or doesn't do, and then she needs to come to him. And this is what we're doing.
I'm just bringing it up for public discussion so that, people should not be subjected to behavior that involves the police.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing, Katie brought up some points about some of the team members. When I was on that board in 2012, I don't know if they're the same people, but there were some problems back then as the
It's
chairman.
exciting sometimes.
Yeah.
You precisely bring up a very important point. We actually adopted rules of procedure last year, but for lack of a better term, there's no teeth to it. If you violate it, nobody cares. There's nothing that anybody can do.
That should be left up to Felicia, because that's her board.
Sure, but I think it has to be sort of a consensus, because sometimes people agree that there should be a measure of outrage, and sometimes you can feel that the moment is completely and utterly inappropriate.
Right.
And the board, I would say, I can't speak for the majority, but I think in some cases I do actually. speak for the majority when I say that we generally all feel the same way about certain types of conduct, addressing or accosting verbally another board member in the middle of a meeting. You know, it's happened before repeatedly, usually the same members, and unfortunately, there's nothing that the board can do as a group. It's not necessarily that we have a leader or had a leader who was unwilling to do something. We just needed a mechanism by which to do it. We needed the board members who aren't really into, you know, parliamentary procedure and such to understand that there is a mechanism by which they can make a motion to recommend to the city manager that a particular member be censured or removed or whatever the case may be.
Well, and that's fine. I just think we need to be more aggressive if that becomes a problem. And
Mr. Mayor?
heated discussion is great. We love having it up here, but disrespect is...
I think one thing that would go a long way, and I mentioned this to our city manager the other day, I think there's two things that we should do for all committees that we have. Number one, and it is not expensive to do anymore, I think we should live stream and record their meetings and put it online.
That would be interesting.
I will tell you, there is some significance when people know that their behavior and their actions are going to be made public, and anybody can click and watch it.
Why don't we just tell them they're all being recorded?
Well, doing it, I don't
Same
necessarily mean
time.
doing it to the level and that we do this right now with a council meeting. I'm talking about something as simple as where you put up a stand, and right, and you record it and you upload it. I mean.
Well, this is,
But that's kind of nuts and bolts. The other thing is I do believe that when somebody comes back before us for reappointment, that we should now have their attendance record provided in the packet, along with what the current requirements are for that committee.
Or something along the lines of kind of like what we do with the city manager and the clerk is sort of an evaluation, maybe from other members of the board. Because let's just say, people may not want to openly say in a meeting that, you know, hey, I'd like to make a motion that this person gets removed from their appointment because we all live together in the same city. But one, I would say basic, if there's an issue like you bring up, it just needs to make sure that Felicia or the city clerk or deputy city clerk is made aware, and that they're notifying Al that there's a person that's kind of continuously, you know, accosting someone else in a meeting.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I also think from a transparency standpoint, it's a benefit. And also, we would see the meetings.
no.
Some people might enjoy having an online platform to promote their ideas.
Wait a minute. I have a suggestion to this. This board is not needed. Okay? And they need to understand that. It's not needed. It never was needed. It's a board that was created because somebody wanted it. And everybody on that board needs to understand, we can do away with that board in a matter of, if there's 3 votes, we can do away with that board real quick.
Yeah, a lot of people
They
don't
need to
realize
understand that.
There's a false sense of power.
They don't
I've
have
only
any-
been there for a year.
They don't have any power.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And-
think they can provide some valuable.
Sure.
If run properly, Tom makes a good point that the leadership of that particular board needs to be the strong voice to.
I wanted to be the chairperson. Unfortunately, I'm an alternate board member, and we couldn't figure out a way to do that. I'm one of the more outspoken members of the board, but
That's a
Councilmember
surprise.
McKee makes a good point, because some members are quite shy and unwilling to speak up when they see something going wrong. They kind of just want to
They need
exit.
an anonymous way of
Sure,
communicating
that's
that
fine.
to
And,
Felicia.
you know, they can do that, you know, through the mechanism that we have, whether it's, you know, Kathy or Ann or Felicia or whoever is the city representative at that particular thing. And we just need to stay on top of it. It doesn't seem like it should be that difficult to
No, I'm
to reel it
drafting
in.
the sort of first version of our bylaws for our next meeting, so we'll see how that goes. But I think this resolution goes a long way in streamlining the discussion on important and relevant topics.
Time you reduce number of people too in the
Yeah.
decision.
Number of people and number of meetings. We've now cut
Yeah, sometimes more is just more.
we've now cut your number of meetings, which is number of conflicts, you know, like substantially. So, okay, I like it. I mean, and I just hope, you know, if we can stay on top of, you know.
Well, if you come back again and say there's another row down there, just say that I'll put it on the agenda to do away with the board. How's that?
That'll scare people.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather remove the person that's being.
Or that.
Because I don't want to punish people that are very have the interest of the city and
Volunteering.
the volunteering to.
Well, myself and John Andrew, who was just reappointed, we kind of feel like we're in the minority sometimes. We're the only two sort of younger members on the board, and it's nice to talk about new things instead of just how back in the day the arts board was consolidated into the leisure board, and I remember this and I remember that, and back in the day.
And that's the problem. Back in the day is the problem.
No, we gotta move on. We gotta do something useful, especially when we have so many staff members at the meeting.
We sometimes look backwards too much.
Jerry, what'd you just say back in the day was the problem?
I know, this from the guy
Well,
that,
he doesn't say back in the day, he
The
says in
problem back in the day is that we
1974.
created the board to start with.
Okay.
anyway,
Well,
so,
thank you for volunteering and speaking up.
before we get into an argument here and have to have the police involved.
There's a lot of good volunteers.
A motion and a second on this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye, passes 5-0. Thank you, and thank you for your input.
Yeah, thank you.
What else you got? Anything, Big Al?
That's sir.
All right. City Clerk, do you got anything?
I don't have anything.
Nothing. City Council, reschedule the Town Center Code Review Work Session.
Why are we doing this?
Well, it's,
Because when I suggested it, I wasn't really thinking.
okay,
I'd just be falling right on the sword very quickly.
so if we would like to have a
let's
fourth
do away
faller
with
honor,
that.
we could do that, and do we just leave it as is? Do we, what's the,
That's good in my book.
you had, I guess, Vice Mayor, you
Well, I
had
would-
asked it, so I'll leave the floor to you to.
Thank you. I was at the time thinking about possibly where we would be with the bids being closed for town center and so forth, and everything coming back, and it just was same area, two different subjects, and a long day. And so I would suggest we leave it where it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Yes.
What?
Well, I guess I need a motion. Need a motion to leave the schedule as was.
What's the
I will
date?
make a motion.
April 30th.
April
April
30th.
At 9 a.m.
Yeah, we still had it.
Motion, I got a first
A motion
and a
to
second.
leave it as is.
Second, motion and a second to leave it as it is. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Scheduled work session to review capital improvement program for fiscal year 2018, 2019 through 2023 to 2024. Mr. City Manager, do you have a couple of preferred dates?
Two dates proposed, Tuesday, May 22nd at 4 PM or Friday, June 8th at 9 AM.
I'm sorry, say it, then I know you've said.
May 22nd, which is a Tuesday at 4 PM
Yep.
on an off meeting date, or Friday, June 8th at 9 AM. We're certainly flexible, but we threw those out there.
Anybody have any heartburn with either or? Mr. Beaverland, your
I
schedule?
think either date is great, and I think somebody should choose either date so we can have it. And
So I
not
have a
have to
little bit of an
worry
issue with
about
the
14 other
27th.
dates.
A big partner on site that day, and I don't have exact time
I'm sorry?
frames. A big Cisco partner coming to tech data that day.
Which date?
The 22nd.
22nd.
So I'm not sure, like, yet if I would. be able to
22nd does
leave
not
it
work for our city attorney either.
At 9 a.m.
June 9th at 9 a.m.?
Well, not the
Oh,
9th.
June 8th at 9 a.m. June 9th at 8 a.m. How about June 6th at 7 a.m.?
June what?
June 8th at 9 a.m.
Good for me.
Let me
Friday?
scroll.
8th is
June
good.
8th, that's a Friday. Good for me.
Tom,
Yeah, it's good for me. Yeah.
Vice Mayor?
I'm on vacation the next day, so.
So that works for you.
Works for you. So you go on vacation just after that meeting is
Yeah.
basically what you're
Yeah,
saying.
man.
Move second and all in favor, that's good.
June 8th,
Now we
9
have a
a.m.
date.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
And that's it. Council comments. We'll start with Mr. Waterski himself, Jerry Beaverland.
You'd have laughed.
Well, you probably would have, yeah.
Claude Jane is an incredible guy. Claude is an incredible guy. He actually moved here just right after we did, going on 53 years ago. And when we met, it was not an amicable meeting. He wanted to throw me and Bud Lister into the tar barrel somewhere. All the city, that's when we were debating on building the first tea plant in the city of Oldsmar, in the Americas. And we were accused that we were going to bankrupt the city. And all we want to do is take all the poop out of the bay and treat it. And it was a tumultuous time. Everybody in the city wanted to hang Bud Lister and me, and that was fine. We stood our ground, but the most vocal individual was Claude James, that had just come from France over here in the city of Oldsmar and telling us what was right and wrong. And I mean, he was vocal. He was vocal, and he was ready to tar and feather us. Well, we won. As we know now, we built the first AWT plant in America. We dedicated it in 1974. And what was so incredible about it to me is when I became mayor in the 90s. Now this happened in 1970, 71 and 72 and 73. Claude came up to me and said, I want to tell you something. And as I'm telling you this from the heart, now this is 20 years later or 30 years later. He says, you and Bud had the only vision for this city. And that meant everything in the world to me. I didn't care about those that moaned and groaned and wanted to tar and feather us. As somebody that I respected and we became friends, come up and tell me that. I got to sit there and cried and kissed his hand. Thank you, Frenchman. And Claude was a good friend of this city. And he has been sick, but he hasn't told anybody over the past years how sick he really was. And I shouldn't say this, but this is how I feel. And I don't need to get in a debate with it. It's my own personal feeling. I don't think our conference a week ago was that good. Our council conference, and I will say this, but the detriment to all you people that were, I almost got up and walked out and came home. That's how I felt. And other than that, thank you all for who you are.
Thanks. Councilmember McGee.
I just had two things. One, I was thinking, I don't know if you've done this, Mayor, but we should do a council story time with the kids.
I was thinking about that tonight. I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Or if we all pick a book and we read it to them, or like one Saturday or Sunday.
I could read my poem that I wrote.
Yeah, if that's going to make you produce it. But I would really enjoy that.
I'll do it.
That would be a lot of fun.
I was thinking that while they were saying that earlier. That I don't know when they do it or if we could rotate.
We just make a day and promote it, and that would be really fun. And the second thing I was going to mention is this Thursday at 5:30 in the afternoon, if anyone wants to join. They're not located in Oldsmar, so I didn't feel like it was a conflict, but Pride Strength is a new fitness.
Oh, I saw your post.
Yeah, they're working with the chamber. They're located behind the Lowe's Plaza, so they're kind of on the Oldsmar border, and the owner is a family friend of mine, and she had reached out and offered to give me a tour, and so I thought I'd mention if anyone wants to join. I know most of us are into fitness, and so I was like, okay, I'm not sure if it's CrossFit exactly, but they have some kind of technology called Dari. It's called Pride Strength. So they have some tools and measurements and equipment in there that measures your body and performance, et cetera. So Thursday at 5:30, I was just going to go over there for about a half hour and get a tour and see their instructors and such. So if anyone's interested, they're a new business right there behind Lowe's, and curious to check that out. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor.
Award-winning councilmember.
Oh, wow. I only have a couple things. First of all, the Relay for Life, my wife's team, and Becky, who is back there, and Gwen and Gina Rogers raised over $2,500. Too Fit to Quit.
Who's Gwen? Oh, I think
Mighty
Gwen.
Quinn, I'm sorry, Quinn. And they raised over $2,500. And this year, Relay for Life, I think, was one of the best ones because there was a lot of different events going on. Paula had, Zumba? And there was like
Tug of War?
100 people. Yeah, the Tug of War from the fire department. It was just a really well-run event. And it seemed like this was the first year there was a lot of younger high school, younger young adults involved
Yeah.
than I saw in the past. So it was a great event. I just wanted to say congratulations to the Too Fit to Quit team. The Oldsmar Cup, Ann and I went. Did you get that picture yet?
No, I don't have it yet.
Okay. Anyways, Ann and I went to the Oldsmar Cup, and I just want to tell you guys that my horse
Did not win.
Still running.
lost by this much.
The photo finish, yeah.
Ann knew it. I was so
Didn't
depressed.
you won last year, though?
I won 2 years in a row, and this year I went down. But it was this close.
That almost would be exciting.
I know. And I bet everything on that horse, and I thought it was going to win, and it didn't win. So I was very disappointed. Other than that, I want to just say, Felicia, I love your Oldsmar and the news publications that you've been sending to the council. I love that. Thank you so much for that. And then, Jerry, I want to just mention, I didn't know Claude Jean as long as you have. But I do want to say that he showed up and volunteered for the Historical Society every week. And the last time we had breakfast with him in January, I knew something was up, but I'm just glad that you and I were both there to have breakfast with him, to be there, because he didn't come to our last.
Anything in the world for
Yeah,
for y'all.
he was dedicated to the Historical Society.
He loved this city.
He worked downstairs. He constantly volunteered for us and helped if, whenever he could. And I'm sending prayers out to his family, and goodbye, Claude. You'll be missed. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I just have a few things. Marie, I like the report. The CRA report, I thought came out real well, very clear. It's a good report, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. I also really love getting the weekly updates on where we're in the news, because, there's a lot of different sources, and so I know that Deb's putting us in the news a lot, but sometimes so much we don't know where we're in the news, so that's
Or
really-
why.
Or why. Dan, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well-deserved. I saw you up there in Tallahassee gearing up while I was up there with Leadership Pinellas, and so, well-deserved. Claude Jean, when I first ran, he took me aside, had a whole conversation, this is 10 years ago, I mean, maybe longer, I don't remember the exact date, but it was a long time ago, and he was somebody who I really respected almost immediately. He was at almost every council meeting, and always,
Always attended.
he always had something to say, and, kind of looked forward to the comments, and that, to me, was a time period when there were a handful of people who came to every council meeting and had something to say. Now, I'll be honest, some of those who had something to say, you sometimes wish they didn't have anything to say.
I would tell them that.
Yeah, but he wasn't one of those.
If you had the city of Oldsmar heart, you had Claude Jean's heart.
Yeah, and so he will be missed. And I also got a news flash up on my phone. I don't know if anybody heard this, but First Lady Barbara Bush passed away.
Oh, she did.
And so their family is in our prayers as
Yeah,
well.
the way they were talking, it sounded like it was right around the corner, so.
So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
That's
Thank you.
unfortunate. Yeah, she was a great thing. So, thank you. I don't have a lot. Claude Jean was definitely a big fan of the city, and we hate losing him, but we have some pretty terrific people that we have lost that look over our city. And so I can imagine the conversation that he and Janice Miller are going to have up there, and the things that they may talk about, and probably talk about Jerry and things like that. So. But yeah, you hate losing somebody like that. That's for sure.
Can I tell one real quick story?
Yeah.
I just have to, because it's
Does it go back to the
it's
1970s?
classic.
Does it
It's
go?
classic. Well, it goes back a ways. So, as many of you know, who we ended up being dear friends, Janice Miller and I ran against each other, right? And so I'm talking to Claude, and he says, Eddie, you're a very nice young man, very smart. I might even vote for you if my friend wasn't running against you.
Well, tell her that. Yeah. I like you, but not as much as her.
But I like my friend very much.
Anything else? Al, you got anything?
No, sir.
No? How about you, Tom? Anything?
Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you, Tom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Al.
Deputy? I take it I didn't win the fireball basket? God, dang it, I tried everything I could. Oh, well, thank you for the good cause. We're adjourned.